I'm Mark, 38, an architect, and until recently, I genuinely believed I had a firm grasp on the trajectory of my life. 12 years with Chloe, my fiancée, 3 of those spent planning a wedding that felt like an inevitable, joyful culmination of our shared journey. We were putting the finishing touches on our dream home, a place I'd pour my heart and soul into designing and renovating, fueled by a significant bonus from a major urban development project I just spearheaded. Every detail, from the polished concrete floors to the custom cabinetry, felt like a testament to our future. We talked about starting a family, picked out cribs online, debated paint colors for a nursery that only existed in our dreams. It felt like we were building something profoundly real, something built to last, brick by emotional brick. Chloe, 35, a sharp and ambitious marketing executive, had always been drawn to the next big thing, the latest trend. I admired that about her, her drive, her unwillingness to settle. But lately, her ambition had taken a strange, almost unsettling turn. Her new job, especially since her new boss, Daniel, had taken the reins, had become an all-consuming obsession. Daniel was, in her words, a disruptor, a visionary, constantly pushing boundaries. She spoke of him with an almost starry-eyed admiration that went beyond professional respect. It was like he'd opened her eyes to a world brimming with possibilities she hadn't known existed, and suddenly, our carefully constructed world felt ordinary, perhaps even a little quaint. She started pulling longer hours, often networking late, leaving me to handle more and more of the quiet domestic routines. Our evening conversations, once filled with shared plans and comfortable silences, became dominated by Chloe's excited recaps of Daniel's latest brilliant idea, his unconventional strategies, his seemingly boundless energy. One evening, attempting to inject some levity into the conversation, I joked, "Sounds like Daniel's becoming your work husband." Huh? She froze, a flicker of panic in her eyes, before forcing a brittle, almost painful laugh. "Oh, don't be silly, Mark. He's just an incredible mentor." The interaction left a subtle, uncomfortable feeling in my gut, a tiny seed of doubt I tried desperately to dismiss. It was just a joke, right? Then there was Sasha, Chloe's new friend from a high-end wellness retreat. Sasha was a self-proclaimed modern relationship guru, boasting about her 4 divorces as enlightened life lessons. Each one, she claimed, a step towards greater self-discovery. She filled Chloe's head with esoteric ideas about personal sovereignty and unconventional partnership structures, concepts that felt utterly alien to the grounded reality of our relationship. Every time Sasha's name came up, every time Chloe quoted her latest philosophical gem, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Sasha just seemed so superficial, so utterly detached from the messy, beautiful reality of human connection. The bombshell landed on a quiet Tuesday evening. I was at the dining table, lost in the intricate blueprints for our planned nursery, a small, sunlit extension off the master bedroom that felt like a tangible promise of our future. Chloe walked in, her movements unervingly calm, her expression detached, almost rehearsed. "Mark," she began, her voice flat, devoid of any warmth. "We need to talk. I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of self-discovery. I believe we should try a living apart together arrangement." The blueprints on the table blurred before my eyes. I stared at her, searching for a hint of a joke, a mischievous glint in her eye, anything to suggest this was some elaborate prank. There was none. She proceeded to explain it in terms of personal growth, individual space, and how it was the future of modern relationships, citing Sasha and vague European trends as undeniable proof. "We'll still be engaged, still a couple, just in separate residences. It's a trial, really. If it doesn't work out, we can always go back to living together." Her casual tone, treating our decade-long relationship and our shared dreams like a Netflix subscription she could cancel if she didn't like the pilot episode, made my blood run cold. This wasn't a discussion. It was a cold, hard pronouncement delivered with unsettling conviction. I tried to process, to comprehend the enormity of what she was saying. Our entire shared future, our dream home, our plans for children felt like they were crumbling before my eyes, turning to dust. I asked about our engagement, about the commitment we had pledged, about the family we had so meticulously planned. She just shrugged it off as details we could figure out later, as if they were minor administrative tasks. That night, sleep was impossible. My mind raced, replaying every interaction, every casual mention of Daniel, every enlightened piece of advice from Sasha. The work husband joke, Sasha's insidious influence, Daniel's constant, glowing presence in Chloe's stories. A chilling mosaic of suspicion began to form in my mind, each piece clicking into place with horrifying precision. A profound sense of betrayal washed over me, raw and unyielding, mixed with a burning need to understand what was truly going on beneath the surface of her calm facade. The very next morning, despite the emotional wreckage of the previous night, I forced myself to channel my architect's mind, analytical, meticulous, ruthlessly problem-solving. I spent hours researching LAT relationships, devouring articles, forums, and legal precedents. My initial suspicions were quickly confirmed. This arrangement was rarely, if ever, for engaged couples actively planning a family. It was typically for older couples with grown children or highly independent individuals with careers spanning different cities. This wasn't a partnership. It was a convenient sidestep, a way to avoid genuine commitment. I realized Chloe's casualness was a smokescreen, her personal growth a well-rehearsed line designed to deflect scrutiny. I decided to play along, but with a hidden agenda, to expose her true motives. Give them enough rope, I muttered to myself, the bitter taste in my mouth sharper than ever. I approached Chloe, calm and composed, suggesting we discuss the logistics of this new arrangement. I transformed our kitchen table into a sterile negotiation room. Laptop open, a legal pad before me, I began with a detached professionalism that surprised even myself. So, let's map out a formal custody schedule for our future children, I stated, my voice steady. Week on, week off? Or the 2-2-3 split? And holidays, clear rules are essential for their stability, wouldn't you agree? Chloe's eyes widened slightly. She clearly hadn't considered the practical, messy realities of co-parenting while living separately. Her confident demeanor began to waver. Then came the first legal pressure point, a calculated strike. Of course, we'll need a formal separation agreement to outline assets, liabilities, and shared responsibilities. I've already spoken with my Uncle Ben. He's a retired family lawyer, sharp as a tack, and he graciously offered to draft the preliminary documents for me, pro bono. He loves a good intellectual challenge, especially complex family law cases. Chloe visibly flinched at the mention of Uncle Ben, whose reputation for legal rigor and a no-nonsense approach preceded him. She quickly suggested her own lawyer, one Pat, Sasha's nickname for her, had recommended, the same lawyer who'd handled all 4 of Sasha's messy divorces. I just nodded, maintaining my placid, unreadable exterior, letting her squirm. Next, I unveiled my masterpiece, a meticulously detailed spreadsheet I'd painstakingly created overnight. It itemized the exact costs of maintaining 2 separate households, hypothetical rent for her new place, utilities, groceries, insurance, property taxes on our shared home, maintenance, and, chillingly, a new column, discretionary personal expenses, including dating. I highlighted the massive financial burden. As an architect, I'm all about structure and planning, Chloe. We need to be realistic about this. 2 households mean doubling many of our current expenses. This isn't some whimsical adventure. It's a significant financial commitment, one that will strain both of us considerably. Her initial smugness dissolved into discomfort, her face paling slightly. She tried to argue about finding more affordable options, but my numbers were irrefutable, leaving no room for her vague, self-help rhetoric. Then, feigning thoughtful consideration, I asked, so, where are you thinking of moving? I was looking at some places, but everything half-decent in this area is astronomically priced, especially for a single-bedroom unit. Chloe hesitated, her gaze flicking nervously towards her phone. where Daniel's contact was undoubtedly pinned. Then, almost a whisper, she said, I was thinking of the Pinnacle. My internal alarm bells didn't just ring, they blared. The Pinnacle, the city's newest, most exclusive, ultra-luxury high-rise, notorious for its exorbitant rents and prestigious tenants. I knew Daniel lived there. I'd seen his lavish Instagram posts. The Pinnacle? I asked, allowing a hint of surprise to creep into my voice, but keeping my eyes fixed on hers. That's quite the ambition, Chloe. It's a bit far from your office, isn't it? And our home. Chloe quickly tried to cover, her voice a little too high. Oh no, it's very modern, and it's centrally located for networking. Plus, Daniel lives there, so it's a great environment for professionals, you know? The last part slipped out almost instinctively, a nervous laugh escaping her lips, betraying her. I just nodded slowly, a small, knowing smile playing on my lips. I didn't need any more confirmation. I left the conversation hanging, letting the implications sink in for Chloe, watching the illusion of her personal growth slowly, agonizingly, crumble around her. I wasted no time. As soon as Chloe left for work, I called my best friend, David, who works in commercial real estate. Hey man, I said, trying to keep my voice casual, though my heart was pounding. Completely random, but you know anyone at the Pinnacle's leasing office? Just curious about their recent rentals. Thinking about a new project, maybe. David, sensing my unusual tone, agreed to discreetly check. Within hours, he called back, his voice low and serious. Mark, this is weird. Your fiancé's new boss, Daniel. He leases not one, but 2 units there. A penthouse and a smaller, 1-bedroom unit on a lower floor. Both under a shell corporation, but connected to him. Very, very discreet. Almost like he's trying to hide something. The confirmation hit me like a physical blow, a cold, hard fist to the gut. The puzzle pieces snapped into place with horrifying precision. The personal growth was a lie, the LAT a convenient smokescreen for an affair and a ready-made love nest. The audacity of it, the casual cruelty of her deception, infuriated me beyond words. A few days later, Chloe announced an urgent, mandatory team-building retreat with Daniel and a few other executives, upstate. It was an overnight trip, explicitly stated as mandatory by Daniel. Her phone was constantly buzzing with messages, always from Daniel, always accompanied by a knowing smirk on her face. A retreat? I asked, raising an eyebrow, feigning mild curiosity. Daniel's pretty new to the company, isn't he? And he's already organizing overnight team building? That's unusual for a regional director, even a visionary one. Chloe became defensive, snapping at me for being suspicious and old-fashioned, accusing me of trying to control her career. I just observed, my resolve hardening, each accusation a confirmation of her guilt. Later that week, Chloe's younger brother, Ethan, approached me, looking troubled. Ethan, a recent graduate, had secured a junior position at Chloe's company through Daniel's networking event, a connection Chloe had proudly touted. He had always admired my stability and kindness, seeing me as the grounded, reliable presence in his sister's often chaotic life. Mark, he began, his voice barely above a whisper, something's not right. Chloe and Daniel are always together, not just during work hours. I've seen them having late-night, hushed conversations in Daniel's office, even on weekends. It's like they're in their own little world, shutting everyone else out. And I heard Daniel talking on the phone about getting things ready at the Pinnacle for Chloe. He specifically mentioned the 1-bedroom unit. It felt personal, not professional at all. Ethan looked genuinely distressed, caught between loyalty to his sister and his conscience. I thanked Ethan, reassuring him that he had done the right thing, his courage solidifying my plan. Then came the final, devastating move. I decided to use the one thing I knew Chloe craved above all else, luxury and status. I brought up our upcoming anniversary, a milestone we always celebrated, often with a lavish dinner or a weekend getaway. You know, for our anniversary, I began, my voice calm, almost detached. I've had something truly special planned for months. A surprise trip to the Maldives. Overwater bungalow, private chef, Everything you've ever dreamed of, Chloe. Her cynical facade crumbled, revealing a childlike excitement I hadn't seen in months. Her eyes lit up with genuine, unbridled joy. The Maldives? Oh my God, Mark, you're serious? You actually booked it? Absolutely. I replied, my voice steady, devoid of any hint of my inner turmoil. It's all paid for, non-refundable. Our dream trip, remember? Chloe, desperate to salvage the fantasy, immediately started backpedaling on the LAT idea, stammering about reconnecting and rekindling our spark on the trip. Maybe the LAT can wait, Mark. This trip, it's perfect to talk things through, to get us back on track, just us. She reached for my hand, a gesture that now felt entirely hollow. I delivered the quiet, crushing blow. Oh, I already called the travel agent, Chloe. Since you're so set on this living apart together arrangement and pursuing your personal growth, I figured you wouldn't want to go with me. So, I had your ticket changed to be transferable. You could take whoever you want. Maybe Daniel would enjoy an overwater bungalow. I hear he's quite the connoisseur of luxury resorts. Chloe's face drained of all color, turning ashen, as if someone had pulled the plug on her life support. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. The dream trip, once a symbol of our future, was now a stark, mocking mirror reflecting her betrayal back at her. The silence that followed was deafening, filled only with the sound of her collapsing dreams. Chloe, in a state of utter panic, immediately tried to call Daniel. His phone went straight to voicemail. She tried again and again, her fingers trembling. She realized he'd cut her off, leaving her stranded. Desperate, she called Sasha, frantically recounting my strategic moves, Daniel's sudden coldness, and the crumbling of her meticulously planned escape. Sasha, ever the manipulator, offered only hollow sympathy before subtly distancing herself, unwilling to be associated with Chloe's exposed deceit. She even had the gall to blame Chloe for not being strategic enough with her enlightened path, implying Chloe's failure was her own fault. The next evening, we were at a mandatory company gala for Chloe's firm. Daniel was prominently featured, exuding charisma, holding court with senior executives, seemingly unfazed by his earlier phone call. Chloe, fueled by Sasha's ill-advised advice, attempted to project an image of a liberated, modern woman. When pressed by a mutual friend about our relationship, she subtly complained about my traditional mindset and her unmet need for individual space. I observed, quiet but watchful, noticing Daniel and Chloe exchanging fleeting, charged glances. At one point, a mutual friend, entirely oblivious to the simmering tension, innocently asked me about the rumored Maldives trip. Before Chloe could deflect or invent a convenient lie, I calmly stated, my voice carrying just enough for those around us to hear. Yes, the Maldives trip was planned as an anniversary surprise. A dream trip, but since Chloe is embarking on her personal growth journey with the living apart together arrangement, I made sure her ticket was transferable. I'm sure she'll find a suitable travel companion to enjoy the overwater bungalow. My gaze swept over Chloe, then briefly, pointedly, to Daniel, who was now looking distinctly uncomfortable, his carefully constructed composure cracking around the edges. A profound silence descended upon the small group, thick and heavy. Chloe's face burned scarlet. Later that night, after the gala, as I pretended to be asleep, Chloe received an emergency call from Daniel. I overheard it from the next room. Daniel's voice was barely a whisper, but it was raw with anger and agitation. He was furious, blaming Chloe for the Maldives slip and the sudden, unwanted attention on him. He implied his position within the company, and potentially his marriage, were now at severe risk. This wasn't the plan, Chloe. You jeopardized everything. You need to sort this out with Mark immediately. His tone was utterly devoid of affection, revealing his true, self-serving nature, a user, not a lover. The casual cruelty in his voice was chilling. The next morning, I confronted Chloe. My voice was calm, devoid of any anger or accusation, which made it all the more chilling. Chloe, let's stop pretending. The games are over. I know about Daniel. I know about the 2 apartments at the Pinnacle. I know this LAT was never about personal growth or individual space. It was your escape hatch. You wanted a free pass to pursue an affair, to live a fantasy life of luxury and excitement with your boss, all while keeping me as your convenient safety net, covering the bills and maintaining our home. I laid out the evidence, piece by damning piece. David's intel about the Pinnacle units, Ethan's heartbroken confession about their secret meetings, Daniel's panic call the night before. Each truth hammered another nail into the coffin of her lies. Chloe's carefully constructed facade shattered. She crumbled, sobbing uncontrollably, trying initially to deny, then shifting to desperate apologies and pathetic accusations of me being unfair and controlling. She pleaded, "I was confused. Sasha told me. Daniel pressured me. I made a mistake, Mark, a terrible mistake." I cut her off, my voice unwavering. "You were never confused, Chloe. You were calculating. You were willing to throw away everything we built, everything we dreamt of, for a fleeting fantasy with a man who clearly saw you as nothing more than a convenient diversion. The Maldives trip was a gift, a symbol of our commitment, our shared future. You turned it into a bargaining chip for your infidelity." My voice was firm, resolute, leaving no room for doubt. "This house, our house, which I poured my life into, is my primary asset, and it will not be your convenient escape hatch. You have two choices. You move out immediately, and we begin formal separation proceedings. Or I initiate divorce proceedings based on infidelity and financial deceit, and believe me, Chloe, I have all the evidence I need. There is no trial run here. This is real life, and there are real consequences for your choices." Chloe, utterly devastated, tried to call Daniel one last time. His phone went straight to voicemail, then it was blocked. She finally understood. He had cut her off, leaving her stranded, her grand ambitions for a new, glamorous life with him reduced to nothing. She called Sasha, pleading for advice, but Sasha, sensing the impending scandal, offered only hollow, almost robotic sympathy before subtly, definitively distancing herself. "Chloe, dear, sometimes even the most enlightened paths have unexpected detours," Sasha said, her voice sugary sweet but entirely devoid of genuine care. She even had the gall to blame Chloe for not being strategic enough with her enlightened path, implying Chloe's failure was her own fault, not Sasha's questionable counsel. Chloe was forced to confront the harsh reality. She found a temporary, run-down apartment across town, a stark contrast to the luxurious fantasy of the Pinnacle. The reality of her decision and its immediate financial implications hit her hard. The endless bills, the cramped living space, the lack of amenities she'd always taken for granted. It was a brutal, humbling awakening. Guided by my Uncle Ben, I moved swiftly and decisively. Uncle Ben, with his sharp legal mind, advised on a strategic path that aggressively protected my assets and interests. He provided me with detailed information on how infidelity impacts asset division in our state, leaving Chloe no room to maneuver. The legal paperwork began, detailing the costs of separation, the equitable division of our formerly shared finances, and the undeniable impact her actions had on her standing. Chloe was overwhelmed by the complexity and expense, her personal growth evaporating in the face of legal and financial reality. Word of the situation subtly but surely leaked within Chloe's company, a hushed whisper campaign that originated, I suspected, from a disappointed colleague of Ethan's. Daniel, avoiding any public scandal, was quietly reassigned to a different, less desirable region, his visionary status tarnished by rumor. Chloe received a formal, chilling warning from HR regarding professional conduct and workplace ethics. Her once meteoric career trajectory, which had fueled her arrogance, abruptly stalled, replaced by a slow, agonizing descent. The Maldives trip, once a cherished dream, now a mocking, inaccessible symbol of her betrayal, became a constant, painful reminder of what she had thrown away. Unexpectedly, Ethan, Chloe's younger brother, became a quiet but unwavering ally for me. He expressed profound disappointment in Chloe, not just for the affair, but for her casual dismissal of me, the stability I had offered his sister for over a decade. He even helped me move Chloe's remaining belongings from the house, offering quiet moral support and occasionally relaying snippets of Chloe's increasingly desperate situation. Her struggling to pay rent, her futile attempts to reach out to Daniel, who remained elusive. "She really messed up, Mark," he said one afternoon, his voice heavy with a mix of sadness and resignation. "I always looked up to how solid you two were, how you always had her back." I began therapy, not just to cope with the raw, searing pain of the betrayal, but to understand my own role in the dysfunctional dynamic that had festered beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. I realized I had been perhaps too complacent, too trusting, too focused on providing a stable foundation, and in doing so, might have overlooked the subtle signs of Chloe's growing dissatisfaction and entitlement. This introspection was painful, like peeling back layers of skin, but it was also a crucial, necessary part of my healing and growth. I slowly reclaimed my home, redecorating spaces that once felt theirs to truly feel his again. I reconnected with friends and family, rebuilding a strong support system that had always been there, waiting for me to lean on them. Chloe, increasingly isolated and financially strained, made desperate attempts to reconcile with me, pleading for forgiveness, blaming Sasha and Daniel for misleading her, for being bad influences. She tried to evoke our long shared history, the love we once had, painting herself as a victim of circumstance. I listened to her pleas, my heart heavy, but the trust was irrevocably broken, shattered beyond repair. I acknowledged her pain, a hollow ache in my chest, but I also remembered the casual cruelty of her initial proposal, her calculated deception, her willingness to sacrifice everything we had built for a fleeting fantasy with a man who clearly saw her as nothing more than a convenient diversion. The story concludes with me standing in my quiet, peaceful home, bathed in the soft glow of the evening sun. The renovation plans for the nursery are still on my desk, untouched for months, but now they represent a different, uncertain future, a future I will build but on my own terms. I reflect on the immense cost of betrayal, not just financially, but emotionally, a wound that runs deeper than any physical scar. I have gained clarity, a brutal wisdom, but I have also lost an innocence, a naive trust in unconditional commitment. I pick up my phone, open a dating app, staring at the screen for a long moment. Profiles flash by, smiling faces, hopeful bios, promises of new beginnings. I hesitate, then slowly close the app. The journey of healing is ongoing, a continuous process of rebuilding and rediscovery. I have chosen myself, chosen authenticity over illusion, but the path ahead is still unwritten, stretching into an ambiguous future. The audience is left to ponder. Will Mark ever truly be able to trust and love again after such a profound betrayal? What lessons will Chloe carry from her catastrophic miscalculation, her desperate grab for a life she believed she deserved, regardless of the cost to others? The future remains unwritten, inviting discussion and reflection.